Welcome to the University of the Ozarks Podcast. I'm your host, Nate, and I'm here today with religion professor, Dr. Dave Daly. How you doing, Dr. Dave?
Hey, I'm doing great today, thanks.
Would you like me to do Dr. Dave or Dr. Daly?
Students call me Dr. Daly.
Okay.
I'm okay with Dave. It doesn't really matter.
Okay. I'm going to go with Dr. Daly because
Okay.
I think that sounds really cool. I also love
It's
that.
alliterative and everything.
Exactly. I was just about to say that. It's crazy that you've got all three Ds.
Yeah.
Dr. Dave Daly. About your background, what kind of led you into being a religion professor?
It was kind of a journey. I mean, I grew up going to church as a kid, and ended up in college. I felt as a teenager, I even felt called to ministry. So I went to college to study that, and then had a big crisis of faith. And part of working through that made me realize that, the time in college is a really powerful moment in a person's life. Because as a kid, you're just learning what your parents or your religious leaders tell you.
Yeah.
But once you get into college, you get exposed to a lot more different perspectives, and you have to start deciding, am I going to believe what I was taught simply because I was taught it, or am I going to think it through for myself? And I think the more powerful move is to say, I'm going to use what I've learned growing up, but I'm going to think it through for myself and understand who I want to be and what I really believe for myself.
I really like that. Can you go more into the crisis of faith? How did that work? What were the thoughts that you were going through?
Sure. Well, I went to a small church growing up, and there were times when nobody in the church had a college degree, and my parents didn't go to college, so I was first generation. And the church I grew up in was pretty fundamentalist is really the term that you'd use to describe it.
Yeah.
And so my pastor, who was a wonderful pastor and a mentor to me, but he warned me about when you get to college, you're going to have to take biology classes, but you just, put blinders on, you give the teachers what they want, and then move on,
Yeah.
And because he was worried about things like evolution and Darwin and things like that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I approached it. And that worked for about 4 weeks. It really didn't work at all. But really very, very early, I just, started having questions because I realized, there's just a lot more to the world than what I was brought up in. And I'd been taught that in a way science and learning are opposed to real religion and real faith. And the test of faith is to hold strong to the faith in spite of all the things, that you would otherwise learn in college. And I realized in that moment that I had a choice. I could either run from the questions that I was facing, which I saw a lot of the other students who were going into ministry were doing that. Yeah. They were definitely saying, "Oh, I don't worry about that because the Bible says X or Y," and it hit me that if I didn't face the questions that I was wrestling with, if I didn't turn and face them straight on, that my faith would always be fragile, that I'd always be afraid that one day I'd come across something that would make it all fall down. Yeah. And so I turned and faced the questions, and I, in the long run, I feel like to me there was more faith in that move, because it wasn't rooted in fear. Yeah. But it was an open-ended kind of question. I didn't know where I was going to land. That's what was so scary about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I was going to land. Ultimately, I remain a Christian, active in churches, but I've learned to think of my faith as a matter of growth and as a matter of growth in learning, and to trust that there's nothing that I can encounter or learn in the world that cannot be understood as part of God's great and beautiful world. Yeah. So that's how I've ended up thinking about it.
So you would say answering the questions or attempting to answer the questions would be the thing that led you to studying and teaching religion.
Right. And realizing that that's what most people are doing at this critical point, in their first couple of years, in their college time. It's just a powerful moment. It's really formative, and I realized that I wanted to be part of that. Yeah. in students' lives. Now, what I went through was pretty painful. It was a really difficult thing, because I felt, at least initially, alienated from family who weren't seeing things the way that I was. And we find a lot of students go through that. It may not be about religion, but it happens as people grow.
Yeah.
It creates, can create challenges in their relationships. But part of what I try to do is help students find ways to tell the narrative of what they're doing, how they're growing and changing, that doesn't remove or take away their experience and the nurture that they received, and where they come from. So you got to find a way to tie together past and present and future in as gracious a way as possible.
What are the practical ways that you do that with the students that you mentor? Like, what are some of the methods that you use to help them bridge that distance that is created when you're going one way with what you're learning and discovering and your family is over here?
Mm-hmm. Well, I usually will work with them in assignments that we have in a lot of my classes that involve personal reflection and personal narrative. The thing about storytelling is that it can have some twists and turns, and it still hold together. And so if they can begin to think of their lives and tell the story of their lives in a way that says, I love my parents, I love what they gave me, I may not agree about this, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Find a way to reassure their parents or pastors, I'm still me, I'm still the person that you have loved into being the person that I am. But I am growing, and that's going to happen in every relationship in some way. So.
I like that idea of looking at your life more as the long story, where these little things that are happening that you think are breaking everything is really just a twist and a turn in a story that is going to end up okay.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating. So in the religion department, there's a lot of different courses that are offered. What are some of those courses that students can look forward to?
Sure. We do courses in two main areas. One of them is in Christian studies. So we'll have courses in Bible, Christian theology, some in church history, although most of the history classes are broader religious history that involve multiple religions. But then that's the other piece. We want to introduce students to a range of different faiths and traditions. So the students will take courses in world religions as well. We have some special courses that we get to do at times. I've done a course on religion in the 60s, which is pretty interesting. It's sort of, getting to learn, kids get to learn about the religion of their parents' era, maybe. We even will look at, even in that class, we'll look at some of the literature about LSD, and how it was thought of as a kind of religious experience. Of course, we do not experiment with that in class. There's only so much experiential learning we can do, and I'm not advocating for that at all. So those caveats, but we'll do some things that are of special interest like that, or I've done a course on the prosperity gospel movement, on Hispanic Pentecostalism. I'm doing a course now on God and nature that looks at different Christian understandings of creation. So in that class, we're reading a book on food and faith, written by a professor at Duke named Norman Wurzba, who just opens up how much the whole religion and Christian reflection can be distilled in reflection on the place of food in our lives. Yeah. And in church ritual as well, of course. But I'll also, I'm doing a class where we're reading a book on Jesus called Jesus and John Wayne that looks at Christian understandings of gender and masculinity. So we try to do a lot of different things across both Christian studies and what we'd call religious studies. We think students will benefit best from that kind of range.
And you made mention of learning other religions from different places around the world. How do you get students interested in doing something like that when they might have been brought up similarly to you, or they have kind of a one-angle worldview?
To be honest, it's not a very hard sell. I mean, most students who grew up in church are interested in what other people think, even if initially their primary interest in it is to know what they don't believe.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that and we all are in this process of kind of defining who we are in relation to others who are different, and that's fine. But it's really not that hard. But we do some things like, we'll go to the Islamic Center in Russellville.
Okay.
Or maybe a Reform Mosque in Reform Synagogue in Little Rock. There's even now, because of an influx of immigrants from Myanmar, there's even now a Buddhist temple in Clarksville.
Really?
Yeah, if you're lucky, you can be driving on Main Street and see a monk in a saffron robe walking into the courthouse, Johnson County Courthouse. So that's new in my 25 years here. But the world is changing, and the world is coming to Arkansas and to Clarksville, and so we can connect it to things that are really in our world close by.
And with those connections, that's also sometimes offering internship opportunities for students. So what are the type of opportunities that are offered for students within the religion department?
Sure. Most of them are run by our chaplain's office. We also have a program here that's funded by the Lilly Endowment that is working to foster leadership and growth in rural communities, which is what a lot of communities in Arkansas would count as. So we've got a couple of places there where students can work in churches locally or around the state in the summer, and these are actually paid internships.
That's cool.
Which makes them better than 98% of all the other internships that people can get around here. So that's really nice. I mean, that's really cool. We've also had students who have done internships. I had a religion major who worked at a women's shelter in Washington, D.C. I've had another one that worked at in a program for housing in the Appalachian area in southeast Kentucky, helping to repair homes that were beginning to, that had plumbing problems and things that all were making them unlivable. We've had students work as interns back in their home churches with the youth program. So, I mean, there are a lot of different ways that we can get students out there, outside of the classroom, connecting what they do in the classroom to the world out there.
That's cool. Now, when it comes to students who are attending University of Ozarks, they may be from many different backgrounds. How do you maintain an inclusive environment while learning about these different religions?
The very first day, I asked students to write up a little narrative about themselves. So that's priming the pump for the kind of thing, that I want them to do after they take the class too. But, I always tell them that if you're talking about yourself, there's no right or wrong answer about religion there. There's just what has been your experience. So if it's a Bible class, I will ask them, be sure to include a paragraph about what you were taught about the Bible or what the Bible has meant to you. And I tell them, if your primary experience with the Bible has been somebody beating you over the head with one, just say it, because that's been your experience.
Yeah.
And then we'll work together to hear everyone's voices on what the Bible means to them. And then when you start digging into particular passages, and what really gets interesting is when people who think they have the same view of the Bible actually disagree about what this passage means, because then you realize that the approach or experience doesn't necessarily dictate how people are going to answer questions.
So kind of fostering a gentle, honest environment to be able to share where you are, and you kind of help.
Right.
You kind of jump in and help write the narrative for people. So 25 years you've been serving as a professor here. What are some memorable moments with students that you have of being able to help them on their journey?
Well, I had one student who came here from suburban Dallas and was already, deeply involved in church life and youth work and things like that. But I thought she had a lot of intellectual potential that she wasn't seeing in herself. But over time, she got really interested in in interfaith work. That was, working with groups that, that tried to bring people together across different religions in public service and, charitable organizations and things like that. In fact, she ended up with a kind of coveted job as a coach for what was then the Interfaith Youth Corps that's led by Eboo Patel out of Chicago. Really prestigious opportunity for her. But when she was thinking about going to seminary and going to graduate school, she named a number of places, and they were all great. They were all fine. But I asked her, have you thought about Harvard and Yale divinity schools? I think you could do well there. And she had never considered that possibility for herself. I was pulling for Yale because I went to Yale, but she ended up going to Harvard. And it was the right thing for her to do. Knowing who she was, it was the right place for her, and she did wonderful there. She ended up graduating with honors and works at Southern Methodist University in Dallas now, and is pursuing a doctorate there. So that chance to help students see the potential that they have, that it's far more maybe than they would have realized. And then watch them live it out is a really rewarding experience for me.
So Ozarks has core values that are important to the culture and character of the school. Mm-hmm. How have you seen these play out here at the school and in the community with some students that you are mentoring or working with?
Mm-hmm. Sure. I love those core values. We didn't have them when I first started, but those values about justice and growth, Sabbath is another one.
Yeah.
Part of where I've had the chance to see this happen is working with students, even in the classroom. When they feel kind of weighted down, like especially with finals week. I get to remind them that one of our values is Sabbath. The point of this work is not to beat them down, but help make possible a richer life. And that sometimes maybe the best thing that you can do is take a break, get some rest.
Yeah.
And, so I think that kind of thing is just a very simple, everyday way that the value of Sabbath gives me a chance to give some space to students, a little bit of grace to say it's okay to take a break. You can reach a point in your work where it's not effective anymore. And we value students not just for the work that they do, but for them as persons, just the creatures that they are. So that can be part of it. But certainly, with students working in the community, the value of justice can be pretty powerful too. So those connections, like with the Karen community from Myanmar, it's a community that they were refugees. Forced out of their homes by an oppressive Myanmar government. Many of these students lived for 10 years, grew up in refugee camps in Thailand, but end up here at Ozarks as college students. And they, working with them and helping them and their families, be successful economically, have opportunities, to move into more lucrative professions. That's to me, that's a function of justice too. So we're not just done with them when they graduate or when they stop paying tuition.
Yeah.
This obligation, and it's not so much obligation as it is a gift. It's a chance to be a part of these students' lives in the years ahead. And so I've had the chance to be a part of their lives as they've struggled coming out. But ultimately seen them find their way through to find what they feel like the work that they should be doing, a sense of calling and meaning in the work that they do.
So would you say one of the most fulfilling things is helping students find their purpose or their meaning while here?
Right. It's all about vocation. It's all about calling. It's all about helping them think not just about a paycheck, although that's critical.
Yes.
Right. The goal is not to end up on your parents' couch 5 years later. That's not it. But the goal is for them to find what will support them, but also be meaningful for them. Because there'll be days when when they'll feel burned out. That's going to happen in every work, every profession.
Yeah.
But if you can tie in to a deep sense of purpose about fostering what's good in a community, if you're a manager, helping to make sure that the people that you're responsible for are able to take care of their families, meet their families' needs, take off the time that they need if there's illness, that helping people do that is what gets you up in the morning, even on a cold and gray day.
I like that. What are some new things in the program that you're excited about that are coming up in the religion department?
Mm-hmm. Well, part of what is new is some of these internship opportunities funded by the Lilly Foundation and also by an organization called NetView, which is VUE there is VUE, which is short for Vocation and Undergraduate Education. Okay. So it's a group of colleges like Ozarks that exchanges ideas about how to promote this discernment of calling, which is so important in students' lives at this particular age. So this is our first year to have a couple of internships at churches here in town, and the way they work it is kind of cool. Half the summer. I'm sorry, it's in the fall. We're doing it in the school year. They'll do it some, I think, in the summer. Yeah. But half the semester, they will work at a Methodist church in town, which is a kind of a typical denominational church, working with a pastor. And then for the other half of the semester, they work at a non-denominational church in town that also has a nonprofit that does community development. Yeah. So they get two different kinds of ways of thinking about church that they can work in, and so that's pretty exciting.
When do you think you discovered your calling? Kind of, you discerned your path?
Mm-hmm. There's a sense in which it happened when I had that crisis of faith when I was 17 years old as a freshman in college. Yeah. But there is also, I tell students, a sense in which it happened the day that I got the offer to teach here at Ozarks.
Wow.
And the reason is because I felt that this was what I wanted to do and where I could serve best. But I also knew that there were 150 other people applying for this job and every other job that I was applying to. And, I had friends at graduate school at Duke who were not getting jobs. I mean, it was hard to find jobs teaching religion. So my view was that I would know that it was God's purpose for me to do it when it worked out, when it happened. And if it didn't, then there would be another way. There would be something else that would let me take the years of work and training that I had. Yeah. I just use it in a different way. So that's part of trying to keep people from boxing themselves in. Yeah. To think about calling as a single job. That if they thought about it more deeply in terms of the values that they had, the kinds of positive impacts they wanted to have on people, the more they could think about it at that level, the more that it could sustain them through all the changes that they will have in the course of their careers.
So your approach is more of your calling is more of who you are than what you do.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, it starts there. It has to start there. Yeah. So our question for Ozarks students is not simply, what do you want to do, but who are you? So that's kind of where we start.
I like that. Yeah. Now to go a little lighter, you have a free weekend. Mm-hmm. You can do anything you want here in Clarksville. What are you going to do?
I'm going to walk some trails around here. We have some, in fact, right here in town. In fact, I actually walk to work most days along the creek.
Really?
I'm going to look for a great blue heron that I've named Harriet. I'm going to look for red-shouldered hawks. I'm going to, look for groundhogs and deer. For me, a weekend, the best thing I can do, because so much of my life is in front of a book or a screen. Yeah. Best thing I can do is get outside and look at things that are not 5 feet from me or 2 feet from me,
Yeah.
but, 200 yards. So,
And being in nature is just always the
Yeah.
best. Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. So, what's one book, movie, or TV show you think everyone should experience one time?
Mm-hmm.
Almost like you come into this world, this is mandatory viewing or reading.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you think everybody should?
Everybody should watch the Coen brothers version of True Grit.
I like
Everybody. That's actually a story about this region. The main character is from Dardanelle,
Uh-huh.
which is about 30 minutes from here, and and then a lot of the action happens just across the Arkansas-Oklahoma border. But it's a great story about character, and also it's a good regional story. Since I grew up in Arkansas,
Yeah.
I like stuff that's local to us.
The Coen brothers True Grit. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it is great. You could also do the John Wayne version. That one's good too, but I like the Coen brothers better.
Yeah. I think that was 1963, if I'm not.
The True Grit, John Wayne version, maybe is in the 60s.
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit later than that. It was his only Oscar.
Really?
Yeah. He had been snubbed quite a bit by the Academy, and for reasons I think I understand. But anyway, he got an Oscar for that one. And it has Glenn Campbell in it too, who's also an Arkansas native. He grew up in southwest Arkansas, not far from where I grew up, in Delight. Although in Arkansas we pronounce it Delight. But
Delight.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could spend a day as a student in any department,
Mm-hmm.
what department would you pick?
It would be a course in English literature. Yeah, it would be English, and that's tied to my lifelong love affair with biblical narrative. Reading any narrative well helps me to learn how to read the Bible better. And so, I don't know. I guess it would help me professionally, but it's just what I love. So,
I like that. And my last question,
mm-hmm.
what's a hobby or an interest that you have that you think your students might be surprised to find out about you?
I have an interest in trees and wood. I grew up, my family ran a little sawmill, so woodworking and different species of trees has always fascinated me. And so I don't know, I probably talk about it more. Most students are going to know about that at some point.
Yeah.
But it's just a thing, so that every walk I take, I'm paying attention to what kind of tree I'm looking at. And
that's cool. Identifying
how beautiful
trees.
it is. Yeah. I mean, it's just a way to make have a richer sense about the world that I'm in. So
that's awesome.
It's kind of silly in one level, but I like it.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean those are all the questions I have. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, thank you, Nate.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. You help make it relaxing and not as stressful as it could be. So
good.
Sure.
I'm glad. Yeah, it's been really nice talking with you. Thank you for joining me.
Sure.